All right, next one is the Chiefs, defending back-to-back Super Bowl champions and AFC team. So this is one that you are taking the lead on, Matt. What is your biggest concern for the Chiefs and their contendership?
Well, my immediate concern is that we're discussing Carson Wentz. We want to talk about another C word. That doesn't make me feel good. But in terms of like their concerns in winning the Super Bowl, which I think Mahomes will be healthy and he'll probably play on Saturday. Like it's typically how this stuff works with Mahomes. He'll probably play on Saturday.
How about 3 games in 11 days? How about that?
Yeah. Yeah. No
sure,
big deal.
With a high ankle sprain? Why not?
Great. Again, the fact that we're discussing Carson Wentz doesn't make me feel good. But bigger concern, I think, and this leads back into Mahomes and just the overall health of the offense. Let's live in a hypothetical world where some team is actually able to build a lead on Kansas City, maintain and hold a big lead. I mean, Nate, like what have we seen so far this year that would make you think that offense in Kansas City can shoot itself out of a problem? I don't know, man. I mean, it just, especially like, and I'm not talking about, okay, it's the final drive of the game and they need to overcome a 3-point deficit or it's a tied game and they need to get into field goal range. We've seen that a billion times that they can do that stuff and they can get you just enough to win a game. That's been my phrase with Kansas City all year. It's not only do they need just enough, they get just enough to win a game. I'm talking about like, let's say they play a team like Baltimore that's operating at a really high level offensively, or Buffalo that's operating at a really high level offensively. And by the way, this defense on that side has not been as good at this portion of the season than it was earlier in the season. So can that offense in Kansas City kind of get themselves out of a deficit? I know this isn't everything, but in terms of deep passing, Mahomes has just been objectively bad this year. According to PFF, quarterbacks with a sub 30% completion rate on 20-plus yard throws, it's Mahomes, it's Caleb Williams, and it's Anthony Richardson. You don't want to be in the Caleb Williams, Anthony Richardson section of the program. Quarterbacks with a sub 70 passer rating on 20-plus yard throws. Same 3 guys plus Bryce Young. You don't want to be in the Bryce Young portion of throwing the ball 20-plus yards down the field, but that's where Mahomes has been. And I understand the receiver talent is what it is. The pass-catching group is what it is. The pass protection is what it is. That's a huge concern. And probably like if we wanted to distill this down to one thing, I think it is the play up front and can they keep Mahomes clean? That's probably the one clean, quick, and dirty answer. But I do think Mahomes has been off the mark on deep passes. I mean, all the Xavier Worthy bros have let us know all year long, like, did you see this clip? Did you see this clip where Mahomes didn't hit him? So those plays can be found. I think all of this together, just can they get themselves out of a deficit if teams are playing pass, if they're rushing the passer well? I am concerned about that for Kansas City.
Yeah, they're 32nd in explosive play rate. And it's you don't have to be the greatest show on turf. You know, you don't have to be the 2004 Vikings with Randy Moss or anything like that. I don't know why I'm bringing up early aughts references. There's been plenty of explosive offenses since then, but any of those explosive offenses that you think of, you don't have to be that, but you have to be above the benchmark. You have to at least show that you can get those explosive plays. And right now it always just feels that they are one half Xavier Worthy foot out of bounds or a half yard too far on the throw, or the pressure gets there. Mahomes can't set, and Mahomes can get throws off as well as anybody I've ever seen with tight pockets and without his feet set and everything. But still, it's a limitation when that left tackle gets beat in 1 second. When it's just, you know, it's not the hitch and then there's a pressure. It's I hit the top of my drop and there's pressure. There's a guy, and it's the blind side, which is not as easy. I mean, it's the blind side. I mean, it's just in the word right there. It's not as easy to mitigate as a quarterback because it's feel. And it's like, okay, maybe I'm getting a little too antsy on that, as opposed to if it's coming from the front side and I can go up and around or anything like that. With the Chiefs, too, is that they don't like to chip help. They like to get, this is kind of the old West Coast roots of Andy Reid, is they want all 5 guys out on their pass route. So they don't, they do a good job of keeping the running backs out of protection and only needing him when necessary, but they don't want to sacrifice a tight end or a running back and then their routes. And they don't have the receiver room right now to win like true one-on-one. So that's why they need all 5 guys out. So then now you're just damned if you do, damned if you don't. All right, do we leave our left tackle on an island? All right, and then if you're in the AFC, that's Gregory Rousseau. Any of the other teams that AFC or the Ravens got some pass rushers, any of those guys that can get after you. And that is concerning because now you're just it's just uncomfortable with this whole offense. But I was looking at all their stats since Mahomes took over as a starter, and it's like, yeah, it's the lowest explosive play rate. I mean, I'm not throwing anything out here that's crazy, but what was crazy to me was this is the lowest yards after catch Mahomes has ever gotten from his per reception, 5.8 yards after catch per reception. It's still like top 10 in the offense. It's in the NFL. It's 6th in the NFL this year, but they're second in how many of their yards come after the catch as far as percentage wise. So this offense requires guys to break tackles and get it because Mahomes is having to operate underneath because they're running the ball more and because they can't protect to attack deeper. You want to attack deeper, you need to protect. So they're kind of, again, but do we protect? And this guy can't get open. And now our check down is late because he has to chip help. They have a lot of problems that they're trying to fill here. And it's still a successful offense. It's an efficient offense. Maybe in the playoff time, they crank it up. They've been always the outlier the last few years of like stats kind of just don't apply to them. Like all these thresholds because it's kind of hard to talk about them in a fair light like that. And just, I hate waving the way though. But it's just that's another thing.
It feels stupid to just not talk about it, especially because what I think you brought up a really good point about the protection, and then the fact they don't want to keep guys in protection, and then these receivers. I mean, I think Hopkins is still a solid player, and I think Worthy's fine. I've been critical of Worthy as a rookie, and I don't think I still am selling on the idea he'll ever be like a true high volume outside wide receiver. Mm-hmm. But even when those guys do get open, it takes time because Worthy is like a long strider getting open down the field. And when you face the second most man coverage since week 10, which this team has, like it's just like Hopkins can get open, but he's not a quick separation player anymore. And like, this is where they're really missing Rashee Rice. Even if Rice, I think, and like they've missed him all year long, the yards after catch stuff as well, but man, he would be such a perfect answer to some of these issues. Do you have any faith that like Marquise Brown comes back and can make some of this a little? He's not the make everything better type of player, but he can make some of this better because he's obviously slated to return, if not this week, in a pretty short order here.
He's not a yak guy either. I do think he'll open up the offense a little bit as far as attacking intermediate. Like that's where I think always Brown was his best at, like when he got to be a slot vertical guy. But it's just kind of like, all right. I would much rather, like you said, have Rice at 205 running a crossing route or a bubble and taking it for a first down as opposed to just a 4-yard gain. Like that's the thing is how this offense has to operate. They have the highest run rate ever since Mahomes has been a starter, and their run game is efficient, but it's not explosive. They need guys to create these explosive plays because they're attacking underneath. And Hollywood Brown is gets open vertically, catch, tackle. Not a catch, break a tackle, boom. Now he's taking another 10 yards. So it does help. He's going to help. I think he does have talent and everything, but it's just not what they need.